All right, Chapter 5, Day 3. Past 2 days we've been doing completing the square work, completing the square regular, completing the square with circles, but it's all about quadratics that aren't factorable. Well, remember on the first day we talked about there's some situation in which completing the square might not be too beneficial? There's another method that we can use. Now, you can stay if it doesn't matter. So let's recall, standard form of a quadratic again. We have the ax squared, the bx, the c, and the 0. The a is in front of the x squared, the b is in front of the x, and again you got to keep track of what sign it is. And the c is the standalone number not next to any x. And the standard form has this equal to 0 because, like we said on day 1, we're trying to find the zeros, or sometimes they're called the roots or the solutions of this. So we're going to use something called the quadratic formula. Now I know this might look pretty fancy, but by the time we get done using it in class, you're going to be just fine with it. So let's take a look at the pieces of the quadratic formula. Starts out, here's our roots. X equals, have to have that. X equals negative the b value, or sometimes what I call opposite sign of the b value, divided by twice the a value. Plus or minus, that's that plus minus like we did before when we took the square root. The square root of the b value squared minus 4 times the a value times the c value, all together right there, all over, so the square root's on the top, all over 2a. And when we get into class, I'm going to teach you a little song to remember that. And I know that looks big right now, but don't worry, it's going to be okay. So the question might say something like, find the roots of the following. All right? Well, just like any quadratic we've ever had, first step, let's get this thing equal to 0. So let's bring the 2 over. So let's add 2. 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Step 1 done. Standard step 1 on everything. Now let's try factors of 2 that add to 5. No. Oh, leading coefficient is a 2. Let's try AC method. 2 times 2, 4. That add to 5? Possibly. But I'm going to go ahead and do quadratic formula to show you how this can be used at any time that you want. So step 2, we're going to identify the A part, the B part, the C part. And then we're going to square the B part, and then we're going to calculate all that little bit that's under this when we do it. Okay? So, off to the side, you're going to write A equals, B equals, C equals, B squared equals, and B squared minus 4AC equals. And now let's identify. Again, here's the A. B, positive 5. If it's positive, I don't really need the plus sign there. C, positive 2. B squared. Don't use your calculator. Use your head on this one. Take B and square it. 5 times 5 is 25. If this was negative, negative squared would still be positive. Make sure this number is always positive. Never ever negative for right now. Now, B squared, I know what that is, 25, minus 4 times the A part, I'll put a 2 there, times the C part, I'll put a 2 here. It's just a process we're going through. B squared minus 4AC. Okay, so this is 25 minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. 25 take away 16 is 9. You'll be able to punch this right in and hit enter on your calculator and you'll get 9. All right, so step 1 equal to 0, got it. Step 2, identify all these pieces. Got it. Step 3, plug and chug. What do I mean by that? I mean, plug in now all my letters that I know, and let's chug out an answer. Let's crank out an answer. So, again, I'm going to rewrite my formula so I know what I'm working with. X equals, and I'm going to teach you this song, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and I'm going to put each of them over 2a for right now separately, and we'll talk about that later, why I did it that way. Some teachers will put them all over 2a. It's the same thing, no big deal. All right, so plug and chug. So let's get this going. X equals opposite sign b, which is -5, plus or minus the square root of, I already did this mess right here, it's 9, all over 2 times a. And so that's 2, I'm going to write that as 2 times 2, just so you can see where I got that coming from. So x equals, let's clean it up a little bit, -5 over 4, plus or minus, ooh, this is going to work out nice. Square root of 9 is 3 over 4. Now let's check our steps for a second. So plug and chug, simplify into lowest terms. So simplify the radical. Luckily, this really simplifies down nice into a 3. Otherwise, we'd keep it in simplest radical form. Now, if there is no radical left, get both solutions. So, hey, check this out. No radicals left. I can do this. I can take -5/4 and add 3/4. X equals -5/4 plus 3/4. And I can do x equals -5/4 minus 3/4. So a -5 over 4 plus 3 over 4, that's a -2 over 4, which is -1/2. So one solution, x equals, keep the x equals. If you don't have the x equals here, you'll end up losing credit on the state test. You really have to have it. -5, take away 3 more is -8 over 4, which is -2. My two solutions then are -1/2 and 2. Now, let's see what this step said. If there's no radical left, get both solutions. All right, no radical is left, I can get 2 solutions. Otherwise, leave it in simplest radical form. So remember how the complete the square problems looked when we got done, like -3 plus or minus radical 33? This would look very similar to that. You know, you just want to simplify it the best that you can. If there's no radical left, turns out I probably could have factored it to begin with. But the great news is, even if I don't remember how to factor this will always work now for every problem. And I remember on day 1 I said there's going to be something we're going to learn in which will work every time in case you get stuck. This is it. So when we come back to class, I'm going to have one for you to try. You're going to go through this process of get it equal to 0, identify, plug it in, chug out, simplify the radical, and then if there's no radical, give me 2 answers. If there is, remember, just like we did with complete the square, you can leave it as something, something plus or minus a radical. Okay? So we'll see you next class.